The government has planned to amend the free trade deal with Washington, along with its assessment of the impact of FTA on Korean industries, will be unveiled later this month. Agricultural-related groups call the deal one-sided and demands its termination. Local experts, meanwhile, point out this amendment process should be utilized as a chance to right some of the wrongs of the agreement. For our news features tonight, Ji-yeon covers all valid options pertaining to the bilateral trade pact.
The Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy is to outline its plan to the National Assembly later this month on some of the contentious issues and the direction it'll take ahead of negotiations for the amendment of the Korea-U.S. Free Trade Agreement. Eyes are on the ministry on whether it will incorporate requests from various industry groups that were voiced out through a series of public hearings and discussions held in recent months.
The second public hearing on the Korea-U.S. FTA deal went on as planned, with experts and industry officials from various fields assessing the impact and sharing their views on the deal. It's regarded as progress compared to the first public hearing last month, which ended just 20 minutes due to vehement protests from local agricultural groups calling for a termination of the deal.
Agriculture-related groups made sure to voice their discontent as they claim they've been neglected for the past 5 years, left to wither away. They also pressure the government to fulfill its promise to support the agricultural industry by raising funds and increase distribution routes. They also call for an exemption of agricultural goods being subjected to price ceilings pursuant to the anti-corruption law on meals and gifts. Their calls to terminate the 5-year-old trade deal may seem drastic, but many local experts in Korea are increasingly putting weight to their claims. Some go as far as to argue that the bilateral free trade deal has been one-sided and is an unfair agreement that only brings merit to the U.S. and little to no benefit to Korea.
Korea can't even impose basic protectionist measures, such as safeguards on U.S. beef imports due to the FTA deal. It says Korea can only trigger it when there's a minimum 350,000 tons of U.S. beef imports, an impossibly high standard. Korea is currently importing 180,000 tons, and it's already dominating the domestic beef market.
Some 100,000 local cattle farms have disappeared during the 5 years the FTA deal took effect, as prices and output continues to plummet. The bilateral deal is increasingly driving the local industry into the brink of collapse.
The rationale in maintaining the FTA also loses ground when taking into account its impact to the local auto sector, considered as the main benefactor of the deal. Data by the Korea Customs Office, the country's auto exports to the U.S. tumbled 9.5% from the previous year to around 965,000 units in 2016, even after tariffs were slashed to zero from 2.5% under the terms of the free trade deal.
The U.S. has more to lose with the termination of the bilateral FTA, since it will reinstate the 8% tariff rate on car exports to Korea, which was slashed in 2012, while Korean automakers will carry on with business as usual with a 2.5% tariff rate.
Although it was U.S. President Donald Trump who first indicated the need to terminate the current bilateral free trade deal, experts say Korea need not to be crestfallen and dragged into further demands made by the U.S. that would go against Korea's national interests. Rather, this should be a chance for Korea to right the wrongs of the one-sided unfair portions of the current agreement that go against the original intention of a free trade deal. Ji-yeon, Arirang News.